Welcome to this explainer. Okay, get comfortable, because today we are embarking on an absolutely epic journey. We're going to unpack exactly how a modest, free-to-play PC game, launched way back in the late 2000s, completely transformed into a multi-billion-dollar, globe-spanning cultural empire. Honestly, it's a total masterclass in game design, community building, and just sheer staying power. To really understand the sheer scale of what we're talking about, I want to hook you immediately with this staggering metric: 8 million. Let that sink in for a second. In 2019, that was the number of concurrent players logging into League of Legends every single day. That is 8 million people, all interacting in the exact same digital universe at the exact same time. I mean, that's a level of global obsession that most entertainment franchises literally can only dream of. Okay, let's dive right into this. Our roadmap today covers 5 key pillars. We've got the birth of a Titan, mastering Summoner's Rift, the esports explosion, Arcane, the transmedia juggernaut, and finally, the modern ecosystem. Starting off with Section 1, the birth of a Titan. Let's look at how League went from a grassroots mod to an absolute mega hit. So, back before 2009, Riot Games founders Brendan Beck and Mark Merrill had this idea, right? They wanted to build a standalone, highly polished successor to a notoriously complex Warcraft 3 custom mod called Defense of the Ancients. But when they finally launched League of Legends in October 2009, things looked, well, very different than they do today. The launch featured just 40 playable characters, which they called champions. Publishers at the time were actually totally confused by the whole free-to-play model, and the early tournaments were entirely grassroots, basically just community-run events in basements. Contrast that with the modern era. Over 172 champions, franchise global leagues, and a literal television empire. Talk about the ultimate snowball effect. But wait, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's quickly demystify the core of the game itself. League of Legends is a MOBA. That stands for Multiplayer Online Battle Arena. If you aren't a gamer, just think of it as a highly complex team-based strategy game. You view the action from this isometric, top-down perspective, controlling a single, unique character. And the ultimate goal? Working with your team to march across a map and completely destroy the opposing team's base. Which brings us to Section 2, Mastering Summoner's Rift. Let's decode the core gameplay loop that keeps players so hooked. Now, what's really interesting is how this basic gameplay loop actually works. Each match takes anywhere from 15 to 60 minutes, and it essentially follows 3 main steps. First, you choose your champion from that massive roster of 172 plus options. Second, you drop into the map and begin farming, which basically means defeating computer-controlled minions and enemy players to earn golden experience points. You use those to buy items and level up your character's abilities. And third, you leverage that newly acquired power to push through the enemy's defensive turrets and destroy the large, glowing structure right in the middle of their base called the Nexus. You destroy the enemy Nexus first, and you win. Simple, right? Well, here's the catch. You definitely don't do this alone. It's a 5 versus 5 game. The map has 3 distinct paths, or lanes, and a neutral forested area. Over the years, this has naturally led to 5 highly specialized player roles. You have the top laner, usually a tough solo fighter just holding down their lane. The jungler, who constantly roams the unseen neutral areas to set up surprise ambushes. You've got the mid laner, typically a high damage mage controlling the very center of the map. Then there's the bot laner, a super fragile but absolutely devastating damage dealer. And finally, the support, whose entire focus is aiding the team with healing, shields, and vital utility. It's like a giant puzzle, an incredibly delicate, complex dance of teamwork. So, how exactly did a 5-on-5 computer game translate into a global spectator sport? Let's jump into Section 3, the esports explosion, and see how they started filling massive stadiums. Riot Games started pushing competitive plays super early on. Back in 2011, they hosted the Season 1 World Championship in Sweden, featuring what was then considered a very respectable $100,000 prize pool. But the compounding milestones from there were truly exponential. By 2018, they were hitting record-breaking prize pools. And this competitive legacy, it just keeps compounding. As recently as the 2025 World Championship, the South Korean super team T1 secured their 6th world title, cementing their legacy in a franchise league system that's modeled directly after traditional professional sports like the NBA or NFL. And the numbers brilliantly illustrate this jaw-dropping leap. Think about the sheer scale of this growth. Peak concurrent viewership for the World Championship Finals leapt from 210,000 viewers in 2011 to an explosive 44 million concurrent viewers by 2019. 44 million. At its peak, League of Legends esports events have routinely outperformed the viewership of major traditional sporting events. We're talking bigger audiences than the NBA Finals, the World Series, and the Stanley Cup. And as you might guess, with those massive audiences come massive financial stakes. In 2018, the World Championship prize pool reached a record $6,450,000. Today, the entire ecosystem is so incredibly lucrative that top professional players are commanding annual salaries that easily exceed $1 million. Franchise team slots in these professional leagues have even been sold for upwards of $33 million. This isn't just a game anymore, it's big, big business. Moving to Section 4, Arcane. Let's talk about how this PC game expanded into a Hollywood transmedia juggernaut. To really expand their universe, Riot realized they couldn't just rely on live esports alone. So they made the leap to Hollywood, transforming the lore of League of Legends into a critically acclaimed television show called Arcane. But making that leap definitely wasn't cheap. It was widely reported that the budget for the 2 seasons of Arcane, produced alongside the French animation studio Fortiche and distributed by Netflix, reached an incredible $250 million. That would make it the most expensive animated series ever produced. Now, it's definitely worth noting that Riot Games co-founder Mark Merrill actually contested this exact figure, pointing out that the $250 million includes massive marketing expenses, and the actual creation budget was closer to maybe 60 to 75% of that estimate. But either way you slice it, the investment was astronomical. And man, did that investment pay off in a historic way. Arcane is this gorgeous, steampunk action-adventure focusing on the origins of 2 iconic game champions, sisters Vi and Jinx. The show was an absolute critical and commercial triumph. It hit #1 on Netflix in 52 different countries. Its premiere on Twitch pulled in 1.8 million concurrent viewers. Amazingly, it swept the Annie Awards with 9 wins, and it won 2 Primetime Emmy Awards. It actually became the absolute first streaming series based on a video game to win an Emmy. It fundamentally proved that video game adaptations could be genuine, prestige television. Section 5, the modern league ecosystem. So the crucial point is, how do they sustain this giant machine today? Think about it. How do you keep a game from 2009 completely relevant and highly profitable today? Well, the answer lies in what business analysts call the ecosystem effect. Riot has crafted this masterstroke business model. By maintaining tight, direct control over the core game, the global franchised esports leagues, and the expanding media universe like Arcane, they've created a high-retention, closed loop. You play the game, you watch the pros play the game, you binge the TV show about the game's universe, and your investment, both your time and your money, stays entirely locked within the Riot ecosystem. And money certainly flows through that loop. Remember, League of Legends remains entirely free to play, yet it generates an estimated $150 million a month. How? Entirely through optional cosmetic items, like skins that basically just change how your character looks in-game. However, this strategy has really evolved lately. While they still offer standard skins starting around $4, they recently introduced a luxury tier. Some of these items, like a special Hall of Fame skin honoring the pro player Faker, cost upwards of $430 and utilize slot machine-style gacha mechanics to unlock. Naturally, this has sparked some intense debate and controversy within the community regarding modern monetization practices, really highlighting the tension between free-to-play accessibility and high-priced whale targeting. But despite those debates, Riot is constantly iterating and driving forward to secure the game's future. The roster sits at over 172 champions, and it's still growing. They are actively working on a massive internal project titled League Next to completely overhaul the game's aging client, update the visuals, and improve the beginner onboarding experience. And on the esports front, they recently introduced a brand new international competition, the First Stand Tournament, which debuted in Seoul in 2025 just to keep the competitive calendar completely fresh. The game is literally constantly in motion. Which leaves us with this final, truly provocative thought. We have watched a free-to-play PC game born from a simple community mod rise up to fill traditional sports stadiums around the world, utterly dominate streaming viewership, and create prestige, Emmy-winning Hollywood television. It is a true cultural blueprint for the 21st century. So, if gaming can disrupt and conquer Hollywood and global sports, what traditional industry will it completely rewrite next? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.